Jerry Koutavas. I've known Jerry for a while now. Great guy. He really smart guy. He runs a managed service provider community, right? A small to medium sized businesses, managed service providers, MSPs. He has a community. It's been around for almost 30 years. Really successful one called ASCII. Jerry is also a photographer, and he's got a great Instagram page. And we start off with this conversation of I'm fascinated with lines and the rule of thirds and photography, really great photos that we talk about, that I open up with. It's fascinating to me how you can capture a moment like that with a piece of equipment, and great insight on. He's an amateur photographer, but really cool photos. Jerry_Koutavas on Instagram, Koutavas. Really encourage you to take a look. And then we go on to small, medium-sized businesses and how they're run and what the technology led and some of the difficulties they have. Jerry was also a part of the Pitch It contest that ConnectWise has, where he was a judge, and the contestants and these vendors had technology solutions, and he was one of the judges, and I asked him about that. But a really cool conversation with Jerry. He's a fascinating, well-rounded individual. His view on discipline was very, I said, European. I wonder what you'll think about that. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business? And it lasted over 25 years. Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. So I will be having conversations with a lot of the coaches and the finalists from 2023, and just kind of talking about them a little bit and their solution in some future podcasts. We want to make kind of an introduction to that as well.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, like I said, as the years progress, more people are getting involved, and then back to these vendors looking for a way to create a name for themselves with consistency. They need people like you, which is why I'm so thrilled that you're willing to work with me and work with us on this. So you're going to be, you've graciously accepted to host these, and I appreciate that, where you'll interview all our contestants. You're also going to interview last year's head coaches, last year's judges, last year's finalists. So you're doing all that. And I think it's important, if you're a vendor and you're watching these, take note of this and how you get more involved. Watch the program. Watch what these men and women are all doing with us, because they're doing a lot. That's how you grow your business. If you're an MSP, watch these things. Get to know who people are and then inquire, because you're all looking to have stack alignment and you're all looking for credible and reputable businesses. We're vetting them out for you. We're putting them on display for you. Watch them, ask questions, find out, do your due diligence. Don't wait until IT Nation Connect to see you like at a booth and then buy 5 or 6 different technologies that you don't need.
So 2024, Pitch It, ConnectWise Pitch It. What's new and exciting about it?
Oh my Lord. So for those that have not followed any of this, I took over the Pitch It program 2 years ago, and we've had such great success, with like really great success. And, went from, it's become one of the most predominant programs in the space now. Matter of fact, I was doing some research the other day, and about 5 or 6 other pitching things have spun off from mine
Wow.
and from ConnectWise Pitch It with other people that are running it, So it's great to see, because I think it's the thing about Pitch It is it's all about innovation. It's all about being daring and willing to do things, right? As an entrepreneur, it's a scary situation. You have to be ignorantly optimistic, and you have to be willing to maybe fail a lot more than you'll succeed, and you have to have very thick skin, but you always have to be innovative and creative. So it's nice to see that this has spun off into other groups that have started doing it, because I think the hardest challenge for most startup vendors is getting their name out there, right? Getting people to know that they exist. And the reality of it is you can't just be there one time. You have to show consistency. You have to be in there for the long haul, for the partners to really be able for you to establish credibility, right? Because there's been plenty of fly-by-night businesses that have came out big and gone in 6 months. And for partners, their whole business is built around these vendors, these products. So they're making lifelong business decisions off of these. So, so it's great, it's exciting, but back to the program itself, it's jumped leaps and bounds. It went from being just a competition where they picked a few people, a few really good product companies to pitch live at IT Nation Connect, to where we turn into an accelerated incubator program it's a season. It's literally a competitive season now at this point. And went from 5 or 7 or maybe even 10 vendors that are involved until they narrowed down to 3. To 2 years ago was 18. Last year was 26.
Wow.
And we had way more applications than that. That was just the ones that we thought were the best fit. So we're getting ready, and we're getting ready to put out the press release in a couple of days, because then the application process will start February 1st. So I recommend anybody from around the entire globe to apply. We've had over just last year alone, 6 different countries represented, between the US, Canada, to Israel, to Australia, to New Zealand, to the UK. They all involved in this competition.
Jerry Koutavas, thank you so much, my friend. It's great to see you, and thanks for your time today. How important are lines in photography?
Lines? Well, it's all a matter of trying to do something a little bit different, because you're trying to lead the person to a specific area or focus in the frame. So if you just take a picture willy-nilly, you're missing out. You're trying to help the user or viewer go into what you see as a photographer. So lines are super important, because you're trying to point people to a specific thing in the image. So,
and I'm looking at some of your photographs, Jared. So freaking cool. The one I'm looking at now is it looks like some kind of cathedral, like triangle.
Oh yeah. It's in New York.
So it's in New York. So what do you want them to see, and how do you decide before you take the picture?
So what's wild is that, so this is like, some of it's like street photography. So you're trying to capture something that is just interesting. It's kind of an odd, quirky thing, street photography, because this is all subjective. Just like someone likes a certain type of music compared to somebody else that doesn't like a certain type of music. Same thing with photography. You can have something that someone would go, wow, this is amazing. Take that same photo, give it to somebody else, and they go, what the hell is this? But for me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take real life and make it some sort of interesting story based on that particular frame. So that one you're looking at, there's a gentleman on the platform, and he's looking up at this, like, it looks almost like futuristic in terms like, where are they at, what's going on, and stuff like that. So just instead of it just being like, I don't think it's a train station. This is the I think it's called Octagon or Oculus in New York, and I think it's some sort of like middle point for either the subway station or something else. Instead of it just being a subway station, you're presenting something a little bit different. So,
and then this other picture now, Jerry, it's got some odd kind of flowers. So this is very different now. It's some kind of floral, like peach, golden kind of.
Oh yeah, I was in Hawaii.
Sure. For the ASCII when you were in Hawaii, sure. Take pictures. That's cool. But how about the rule of thirds? Is that in play here?
No, not that one. Well, maybe that one is. There's always I have to think about that image, but basically, you want to have. Um, you don't have to do all this stuff. All these things that you typically hear about is like, okay, well, lines, that's important. Okay. Rule of thirds is important, but it just depends on what is going to make this thing look a little bit pleasing. So I'm thinking that probably there is something that I did where there at one part of the frame, the third, I guess the third part, there's probably a lot more floral there than other. So, but yeah, it's all subjective. My big thing is trying to capture something that typically you're not going to capture. Something a little bit different, something, especially with people. When you're out there walking around, I went to New York. I had a buddy, Stan, who you probably know, Stan Louisant. We went around, we walked around a ton of places, and it's amazing what you can catch, and you just can't miss it. And I was walking with some other photographers, and they say, don't think, just shoot. Don't you're going to miss the shot if you start to think. Literally just shoot like that, and you'll catch it. So, yeah.
And what is the rule of thirds?
Yeah, the rule of thirds is simply you just want to make sure that your subject is in. If you look at the a picture divided in three equal parts, and typically it's either the first third, that line that cuts it. That's where you want to have at least a focal point, your subject there, or the next third line. That's where you have your subject there. It just helps lay out the shot a lot easier, at least from what photography techniques have been talking about. So,
and are the thirds vertical? Can they also be horizontal?
You could do it that way too, but typically they are more vertical. So,
I'm looking at this one now where it's women doing some kind of dance ceremony with these bright reds and yellows.
Oh,
and greens and
that
blues.
Was parade. Yeah. So I looked at that as more of like a pattern. So I was looking at this, I was looking at it more of like, wow, look at this repetition of these people with all the bright colors and what have you. But I always liked photography ever since I was young. Like even when I would talk to my cousins, they're like, "Oh, Jerry always has a damn either Instamatic camera or the old Polaroid where you have to peel back the thing and fan it and wait and all that fun stuff or what have you." So I was always into it, but I guess last year we had a chance to go to Greece. And I just told my wife, I said, listen, I love this hobby. I really got to invest in it. So I invested in it. And, it's good to have photography skills, at least have a good foundation. But once you start getting into better equipment, you really can take it to the next level. So it's pretty slick. I love it.
Hot donuts.
Yeah, that was a picture in St. Augustine. I just captured it. I just thought it was interesting. And, there's a couple other ones that are not even on there. There's a really good one. I don't know if it's on there or not, but we were this trip to Greece and was a bunch of other countries, and there was this lady, and she had this it was hardcore dye job. It was like almost clown red, Joe. Her hair was almost clown red. And it was in front of like this city wall to this old city. And she's sitting on a bench, and the sign right next to her had the same red as her hair. Oh. You know what I mean? And I took a picture, and it was perfect. So catching those little connections between color and people and what have you, that's what street photography is about, is just catching something that typically the average person wouldn't connect the dots. Like, oh, these colors are similar. They're in the same image. They're in the same frame. There might be something interesting there to share.
Now you do some in black and white.
Yeah. So I do a lot of, I jump around to a lot of concerts locally. I've had the opportunity actually even shoot the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Jacksonville. That was a really great experience. But a lot of the concert photography is in black and white. It's just, matches up the genre. Like usually those photos are somewhat typically black and white versus color. But yeah, it's fun. It's really neat. It's it's relaxing to me. So I'll go out, take the pictures, and more often than not, it's really it's called post production. It's taking the photos and then working with it on a digital platform. So I use Photoshop, but I use like maybe 2 or 3 other tools as well, and it's just this whole process. So it's neat. I'm still very much an amateur when it comes to this stuff. When you start seeing other photos of other people, but from time to time, I'll go, okay, that's pretty decent. I'll share the photo with people that are at a higher skill level than me. They'll give me tips, or they'll just say, hey, listen, this is a great shot. You did great. But just, another relaxing thing. We're in a pretty, stressful industry. So when you actually find something that you enjoy, it's nice to just get into it.
You mentioned before the equipment. What do I hear photographers say? What kind of glass do you have? Is that a term?
Yeah, it is. It's lenses. So you basically if you're out there shooting, you typically want to get a prime lens. A prime lens is a fixed lens, so you don't have to zoom in or zoom out. You basically have to use your feet if you're looking to adjust the frame. But those lenses are typically fairly fast, meaning that they're bringing light in, allowing the computer to collect the light and leverage the light and grab color and all that other stuff. So typically, those lenses are pretty fast. But today, the camera I got, I think it's like 60 megapixels. I think they're packing so much data into these files that you have the liberty now to zoom in and see what you might have missed that might be interesting.
Wow.
And so you could go into a crowd and just take a picture, and you'll have the ability to zoom in to a degree that I've never seen before. I'll be on when we were in Hawaii, we went to Diamond Head. And so there was a picture in there of a lighthouse. Okay. I don't know if you saw it, but there's a picture of a lighthouse. If I wanted to, I could actually zoom in to the 2 small people in the yard of that lighthouse.
Wow.
And so it's pretty incredible what you can do now. So you can be, I mean, half a football field away and grab a shot and be able to pull that information in to make something interesting. So it's it's pretty neat. It's a fun thing. I love it. And, it's, I don't know what to tell you, but it's a nice thing. And hopefully I'll probably make some money off of this at some point, and turn this from a hobby to a little business. So who knows?
It's great work, Jerry. So it's Jerry _ Koutavas, Koutavas on Instagram. Take a look at it. Anybody who's listening, but it's really, really great photos. I mean, I found myself just kind of, whenever I go to, a museum, a gallery, I always kind of get a headache, Jerry, because it's like you look at one thing and you kind of want to soak it in a little bit and, take everything you can. Then you have to kind of wash your palate a little bit and go to the next one. And it's like each one of these tells such a different story that I want to spend more time with it. This gentleman with the flame looks like this was probably Hawaii. Yeah. But it's just great work, and it just tells a story. It's really, really great work.
Yeah, there was one. We went to what was it? We were in Toronto, and we went to a great steakhouse, and then I had my camera with me, and as soon as we left, between the buildings was this sort of like staircase. It was in like a junky kind of alley, and the staircase kind of like went up 3 stories, and there was a guy with a trash bag, and I was like, the lighting was so interesting. I was like, oh, I'll make you know, who's really going to take a picture of a guy holding trash? You know what I mean? Can't really make anything out of that. However, you can make something pretty interesting just based on just trying to provide more emotion, more depth, more something into that image. And that one got a lot of attention. So people wanted actually some prints and what have you. I gave people the files.
Wow.
You never know what you're going to catch, quickly. So, and it's what's kind of wild. And this is what I kind of like about it too. There's a creative aspect of it, but it's sometimes life is perfect in a specific moment. And in that specific moment, life is organized in a certain way visually that if you catch it, you're questioning yourself, how could this be? Like, how could this person be in this position so well at this angle, and then this object fit perfectly in this area of the photo, and this is happening, and this is happening. And that's what's sort of like this odd delight when you start seeing sort of like how everything sort of like at that particular moment came together. It's hard to explain, but I'll give you a quick example. So we were on a outing. Again, this was Hawaii. We did a catamaran cruise. There's everybody's on it. Everyone's having a good time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, shooting the shit, taking pictures, having a good time. And one of the vendors brought their kid, young kid. He's not walking. He's still a baby and stuff like that. And then another, his vendor friend took out his camera and was going to take a picture of the baby. And the baby was behind the steering wheel of the ship. So they're making the baby the captain, Did not think, went right behind the person that was taking the picture with a cell phone and got that in the frame. But that picture, everything looks staged. That's how perfect it is. Everything looks staged. And that's where I was getting back to the point where is that sometimes in life, it's like that particular instant, everything comes together and it's arranged so well that you can never plan it this way. It literally just takes place and you grab that moment and you're wondering like, okay, that's kind of wild. So
for photography, is it more art or science?
I think it's more art. Yeah, the science part of it is all the AI stuff that's coming out. That's pretty much it won't ruin photography, but the human element, when you start really ripping that out and stripping it out, you're stripping out, us, the soul of everybody in terms of what they're trying to do and what have you. But yeah, I think it's more art than anything. It's trying to figure out, there's so many people that have different perspectives on things. There's photographers that, Joe, they're taking pictures at the hip. It's called hip shooting. And so they'll walk into, Manhattan and they're taking pictures of people like really, really up close to them and stuff like that. And you look at this stuff and it's very random. It's like it's just taking pictures of random people in random poses and random angles. And sometimes it's kind of interesting. It's not my thing, but there's so many different ways people look at this stuff. What is art? What is not art? What have you?
Is running and organizing a great MSP community art or science?
That's definitely art.
Really?
Definitely art. Because so building any kind of community is, and this is what's so wild. And I tell you, you have to have the fire. There has to be something that everyone says, I agree. This is something that we want to be involved in, or I want to support some sort of initiative. And you need that as the foundation to build any type of community. And so with ASCII, which is the company that I work with, I've been there for a long time. I think that it's very hard to duplicate something like this. I think it's just super hard. I don't know how to explain it, but you just can't whip up a community. It's if you do some online community, sure, you're going to get people talking and stuff like that, but you have to really start delivering on some sort of relationship, something that you're going to be delivering to them beyond just, forums or chat boards or what have you. So, but yeah, it's definitely an art. All relationships too, big time. It's all relationships.
Yeah, because managed service providers, MSPs, are small to medium-sized businesses, and there's egos there. There's a lot of, there's a lot of technology-led companies, and so sometimes, not all the times, but there's not only egos, but there's a lot of kind of introverts, very smart people, but introverts, and so you have to deal with this, and you want them to come out and collaborate and help and be part of a community. So it's a lot of digging in and trying to feed that, and trying to help everybody out when it doesn't seem like you're trying to get over on them. You're trying to be genuine and
Right.
And thoughtful.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I think that what's nice about ASCII is the people and our approach is that we simply look at it as, look, we're not MSPs. I love technology, and I have a somewhat of a technology background, but ended up in marketing. But for me, is we just have to listen to these people and just say, okay, where are their needs? Where are their needs? What potentially could be their future needs? And that has kept us going. And so, we're going to hit 40 years this year, which is amazing. But we couldn't pull it off without simply opening up our ears to the community. And I know it's a very basic thing, like, okay, listen to your customers. This is not rocket science. But unfortunately, companies over years change, and sometimes they lose sight of how they got there. We haven't lost sight of how we got there. And so we just try to maintain that same attitude, like, look, the only people that know what they're experiencing are the MSPs, and we have to serve them based on what their needs are. So we always kind of just make sure that we don't assume and get as much feedback from them as possible on the direction we should be heading for them.
Like myself, Jerry, we both kind of tinkered with TRS 80s. We're about the same age. We've talked about this before. Yeah. And, kind of got wet. At a certain point, you went into sales and marketing. I stayed in technology, but then eventually went to sales and marketing. But so very similar trajectories. But what do you feel that small to medium-sized businesses, MSPs, where do you think they suffer the most in?
The MSPs themselves?
In their business.
Honestly, well, I'll just give you, my thoughts. I've been sharing this last couple of years. Right now, I think MSPs are missing a huge opportunity when it comes to the customer experience. Everybody's been so focused on, okay, I want the metrics for how many tickets we closed this month and how many are open. And I want to make sure that this is integrated with X. And we have to make sure that we're doing this. Oh, compliance. We have to start thinking about compliance and stuff like that. While all this stuff is going on, most MSPs haven't slowed down enough to say, okay, let's just start with the customer first. Okay. We're going to be able to do all this other things. This is all stuff as part of our business, but let's just look at what the customer experience is right now between us, the MSP, and our end user. And I don't think many really look at that to a degree that we should. And as I say this, Joe, it's a matter of how smooth can we operate with the end user, where they don't look at us as like, okay, something broke, I got to get it fixed, let me put a ticket in. And that's the relationship. It needs to be more than that. And I think that the MSPs that are going to grow and outpace their competition are going to be the ones that have dialed in on exactly that, in terms of how can you make the relationship better from an experience perspective and business perspective. So it's not this sort of like break fix ticket transaction type of relationship. It's deeper. You have a really good understanding of where the company is going, where their needs are. You have a deep understanding of how they operate. And with all that, you're servicing them well beyond this sort of like open closed ticket scenario. So I think it's super important. We brought a keynote speaker in last year to talk about experiences, and I think it's starting to percolate a little bit. So yeah.
Are most MSPs overtooled?
I think so. I think so. It's pretty. The last, I think we bumped into each other at one of the last events, and most of the technologies that I saw coming out, it was a marginal value to the current technology stack. Marginal, nothing that was, anything where people were going, oh, hey, I'm giving you my money right now. This is going to be great, blah, 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 blah. Everything was marginal. So once you get to that point, yeah, it's just, we're overtooled, And so again, man, you can have a crazy technology stack and throw everything at it. But it's going to come down to, does the end user like working with you on a day-to-day basis? Do they feel valued? Do they look at you and go, you got your act together? And so I just really think that is a blind spot that most MSPs aren't even considering. They just feel that, hey, I got a PSA. Hey, I got an RMM. I got all these communications that are automated between me and the end user. I'm good. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're dancing around it, Jerry. It's like most of these managed service providers, these small to medium-sized businesses, are technology-led. And so they like tools. They like technology. We can't forget the human element, and sales. A lot of them still consider sales to be dirty and slimy and used cars. And I've got to talk to people and sell them stuff that they don't want, when the primary way they're going to grow is through sales, creating an opportunity in which a customer can buy. It has to be a shift. When I talk to MSPs, 3 things are on their mind that keep them up. Security, they're worried about their clients getting hacked.
Yeah.
2, they're worried about their techs leaving and not being able to fulfill them talent. And then 3rd is growth. How are they going to grow?
Yeah.
So we have to reframe sales for these businesses.
Yeah. No, it's true, Joe. I mean, I think that there's so many, it's easy to say this from the outside in. There's so many times I'll look at opportunities and go, wow, man alive, this is such a great opportunity for the group and for our industry. And then you start seeing that hardly anybody approached it. I'm like, why aren't they approaching this? Why aren't they going after this to such a degree? And, I think that, again, it's tough because they're in this chaotic environment. A lot of them aren't managing it as well as they should. So if they manage it well, that would free up their time to go after other opportunities. So it's a tough thing. But like right now, what I mentioned to the group at some of our events last year, I said, look, the way that technology is going, okay, let's just make some simple assumptions. One, the bad actors are going to have a lot more computing power to break your networks. It's just going to happen. And you have all of these large language models that, honestly, the tech industry, I'm surprised they're going down this way, but they want to open source this. They don't want, Microsoft, Google, Meta to control all of these sort of new, sort of smart decision models. Okay. So that's going to leave a lot of technology available to everybody. And some of those people are going to be the bad people. So netting it out, do you have such a strong relationship with your end users where if something bad was to take place and they needed to be protected and you had to sell them something that day, okay, would they listen to you and would they buy in? If you don't have that type of relationship, you are going to be there's a risk for you. And so I think that we need to start pushing the MSPs into that sort of mindset. Like, okay, where am I at from a relationship standpoint with my clients? Sure, you can look at all the survey information and see the smiley faces and the red frowning faces, but that's only going to get you so far. What type of relationship do you have with these people and their business? And so I think that's again, I think that's a huge opportunity for our industry, huge. And before I forget, it's that the other area that the MSPs really should be looking at is, instead of letting these end users go out there and find AI tools to help them with productivity, you better be on this stuff now. Okay, you better be on this stuff now. You should be advising them on, look, these are the AI tools that we've found, that we've vetted, that we feel are safe for your company. So if you ever go down this road, let us know. We can work with you or whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's the Wild West again. You thought the .com days were wild. Yeah, that's going to be nothing in comparison to what's happening right now. The stuff that's being pushed right now, it's just jaw dropping. Like, it's just, I ran into something. I'm sorry if I'm just ranting here, Joe. So I ran into something. We had an AI person do a keynote at our events. And as we're analyzing who we would have speak, I ran across this one person and I subscribed to their newsletter. Really crazy, like, out stuff. Like, he's on the edge. He's on the edge of AI and all this other stuff. He was the president of Mensa. It's just like, wait, a little propeller head, okay? But essentially, he's sharing what is available today in terms of tools and what is coming out. And he just simply put out this thing like, okay, AI just made this track. It was a music track. Had vocals, had lyrics, and was decent. Like, if you heard this in a grocery store, you would just not even think anything of it. So I'm like, there's just no way. Come on, how easy is this? Last night went on, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes. I had a song.
Wow.
And so what I'm saying is, this is not like, this is all still cutting edge stuff, but things are going to change so quickly. And for a small business that is not aware of all the possibilities that they can do to increase their productivity, should they research all this stuff? Or should the MSP step in and say, look, we know this is a whole new area. We want to help you guys. Something. Build that relationship up. Okay? Don't don't stay with this sort of like, okay, I'm going to wait on a ticket to come in. What I mean? Be proactive and really try to build something unique compared to everybody else that is simply going in and walking the floor, see how many servers, see how many desktops, and giving these guys quotes. So.
Yeah, well said, Jerry. And we don't want to diminish it. It's tough to be an MSP, right? They're worried about payroll. Yeah. They're worried about, they're worried about technology. They have so many worries on their mind, and it's very tough. And especially those that are not natural, CEOs, right? And they're not good perhaps at P&L, and they're not good at, but they're very good at technology. I always say that the Sergey there and Brent at Google, they never get enough credit for at one point saying, look, we can't run this company anymore. We're going to hire a CEO.
Yeah.
And I think they're one of the first. I think they're first in tech field, and that I remember when that happened, I was like, that's incredible. This is their baby. And I'm not saying MSPs can do that now because there's certain monetary, but you have to remember that if you want to grow and you can't handle it there, it might be another way to grow, and there might be somebody else to do that. Just another consideration. You were part of Pitch It, Jerry, the big ConnectWise contest. That ConnectWise has this great contest where they get these emerging vendors, a lot of them former MSPs or even current MSPs, that created a solution, with the ConnectWise ecosystem. And there was a whole, they put in all their applications, and you were one of the judges there at the end in November of 2023. Tell me about that. It was a really cool program.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, it's nice to see, any company, and it's great to see ConnectWise doing this, helping fund future solutions that MSPs can leverage to go after the market. And so I think it's just great. Sean did a wonderful job of helping these newer companies get coached and skilled up as part of this whole initiative. And as a judge, it was nice seeing, these people present to us, and obviously somebody got rewarded a good chunk of money to try to help them go to market. But yeah, they did a great job, and our field is great, Joe, because there's always going to be something new that's going to come in, and it's good to have this sort of approach to try to help these people and help them go to market. So.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, and so I think there was, I don't remember the number, close to 30 contestants, and it got down to 3. So you were one of the 3 judges, like we see on these judges show, and you were sitting there, and they were up on stage presenting, and you had to take everything in.
Yeah.
I was there for the whole thing. It was very exciting. And what was that process like for you and the judges? How was the collaboration? How was the feedback? Was there a point system?
Yeah, it was fun. We had a point system, and we got I know a couple of the judges, so it wasn't as if we needed to have introductions, but it was fun. It was good. A little bit of a side. It was a little bit challenging on my end too, because I didn't realize that the 3 companies were customers of mine.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, I'm going to hear it from 2 of these people, And so, but they all did a great job, and obviously only one person had to take the prize home, but they all did a good job, and I'm sure that they got something out of it regardless. I think Sean had, I don't know how many coaches that they had access to, and really helped them from a messaging perspective, pricing, and just the whole thing. So it's well thought out. They really are trying to help these people. So it was good to see.
And Sean Lardo, who you keep mentioning, he runs. He does a great job. I've had him, I've known him for a while, and it's just a great event, and it's great that ConnectWise does this. The winner got like $70,000, I believe, right? Second got $30,000.
Yeah, the winner, it was so crazy. The winner, they had a booth. I don't know if you caught this, and I was like, "There's no way they're doing that." They were tattooing the logo. Yes. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "There's no way," and no, they were literally tattooing the logo on some of the attendees, and I was just like, "You got to be kidding me!" So obviously these people were having fun with it. So yeah,
absolutely,
it's really good stuff.
IT Nation always does a great job. So Jerry, when I started my managed service provider firm in '93, I wasn't paying attention to myself. I think you know most of this story, and I was working 16-hour days and not eating properly, drinking a lot of soda, pizza, etc. I got up to 340 pounds,
I
I
cannot believe that.
Yeah. The doctor said to me, you don't really feel it. You feel yourself getting bigger. I was up to a 46-inch waist. I'm now 32 inch, but and you just kind of grow, and your body gets used to it, and I was in my 20s, and the doctor said to me, if you don't lose this weight, she saw what was going on. If you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My oldest was just born.
Wow.
So, that just sucker, just hit me. It's what I needed to hear. So I took the next 6 to 7 months. I lost about 130 pounds. And, people always ask me like it's some secret, how did you do it? And you can't look at it as a finishing line, right? That's the problem with a lot of these diets.
Yeah.
People go on a diet, they lose the weight, and they just gain it back. You have to continue this. So my one-word answer, Jerry, always is discipline, right?
Yeah.
That's how I lost it.
Yeah.
I have this new person in my life. I'm responsible for much more than myself.
Yep.
And I don't claim to be king of discipline. I'm very disciplined in some areas, and a lot of areas I lack. That's for sure. Yeah. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life.
Yeah, I mean, we all have challenges, and life, is sometimes not easy. My big thing is just trying to enjoy the ride as much as possible, regardless if you get a curveball. enjoy the ride. Never try to get down on yourself or things. This is all part of the process. And I've learned that, and I know you probably have this too, in life, you're going to build up a lot of scar tissue with
Mm.
all of the experiences you have. And at a certain point, nothing's going to really impact you. You can get anything thrown at you, and you're just going to look at it and go, okay, all right, whatever, And so I don't know, this is a little bit off in terms of discipline, but kind of isn't. You basically have to control your mindset to the point where, not saying that you can't break, not saying that you can't waver. I'm not saying that, but the underlying sort of motivation for you is that everything that has been put in front of you was meant to be put in front of you. Every challenge that was put in front of you was meant to be put in front of you. And so you have to accept it and go after it instead of going, why was this put in front of you? You don't have to worry about the why, okay? It's just that it has been put in front of you. Do something about it instead of talking about it. Do something about it. And I think that once you start really approaching life in that manner where don't worry about stuff that's bad that happens to you. It was meant to happen to you, and it was meant for you to figure out a way to overcome that. You're just going to build yourself up over time.
I have this ongoing kind of thesis, Jerry, that discipline is a spectrum, and I have about 10 elements. And as I hear you kind of describe it, I heard you say words like control, kind of obedience. You didn't really say it, but you're kind of saying, willpower, some order. Yeah. It's interesting to me how there's no wrong answer, right? Discipline is just there's no wrong. It's just how you do it, and your answer could change at any point. But people have such a different definition and description of what it is, and it's interesting to hear yours. Your opening remark was "enjoy the ride," which is a very kind of European kind of view, if I don't mind. Very, kind of, don't stress too much about it, but, have things in order. But it's a fascinating perspective. Have you always had that?
I think when you put into certain situations, you almost are forced to, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so, I think like with life with everybody, nothing's smooth, and everybody's dealing with something. You know what I mean? Everybody's dealing with something. And you just can't take it personally. I remember, Joe, one time, it was a good lesson for my staff too. We were at an event, and someone asked me, come to the registration table, someone's really upset. And so I'm like, okay, go to the registration table. And this person came over, and he was upset that parking wasn't covered at our event. And I said, sir, it's not, but something was wrong. Like he was, this is a parking, a $10 parking thing. Why would you want to be upset over this? And so, I just said, is everything okay? Is everything all right? And he says, my wife died this morning. And my heart just ripped out of my chest. And I'm like thinking like, okay, here's this gentleman, his wife died this morning, and he's out of sorts, and he came to our event instead of just trying to go home and try to like deal with everything. And so I told him, I said, listen, I just kind of like smoothed it out with him, and, empathized with what he was going through. And he just needed to hear something like that. His attitude changed and what have you. But you never know. And it's sort of like this thing, like in life, you never know. And you don't know what someone's experiencing. I didn't know you experienced this dramatical physical change that you went through, what'd you have to do to go through that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And people, once you start trying to relate to people, it's going to help you. It'll hopefully help you long term, because again, it also is another thing about ASCII. We're like Switzerland. We're neutral,
Mm.
and so you kind of listen to everybody and all sides, and hopefully make the best decision for everybody. But yeah, I mean, just trying to understand people and be empathetic is a big thing.
It's interesting, Jerry. When we talked about where, small to medium businesses, MSP struggle, you made the point of, relationship, knowing the customer, trying to, empathize. And here you have a case where one of your customers, it was nothing to do with the parking, right? They wanted to
Right,
be heard. There was
right,
trouble. We don't know. And, the human element came in, I mean, it had nothing to do with the $10. It's just that, no, I need to talk to somebody and I didn't realize it,
right.
and you were there. You
Yeah,
were there.
yeah. No, it's pretty wild. I mean, I tell my kids too. You never know what is going on in somebody else's life, and just try to make
Right.
somebody smile. Make one person smile a day if you can, and that's a good thing. So,
Jerry Koutavas, what motivates you?
I listen. My kids motivate me. I see them and see how much energy they have, and I have a great wife, and she motivates me as well. And I don't know. I don't know. It's such a tough thing, Joe. Everybody is so different, and
Mm,
some people like for you, okay, you needed to lose that weight. You heard something from a doctor, and I don't know if this is going to be accurate, but for me, sometimes it's like a switch.
yeah.
It is. I don't know if it's for you, but typically it is. Some of these people it is, and
Yeah.
it's like someone just flips a switch, and there's no going back. Like you
Mm,
already know what the goal is, and no one's going to stop you. But you don't even think of it as a goal. You already know that you're going to change.
that's right.
So
That's
it's
right.
just like living the way you want to live without. It's like it's not hard, but for some people, it's not flipping a switch, and it's very challenging. So people that struggle with weight or what have you, for them, it's not a switch. It is emotional. There's a lot more to it. They can't figure a way, uh, to break through. Um, so it's everybody's so different. It's hard to one person's idea of discipline and how they can be disciplined is so far different than maybe yours or mine or what have you.
Mm, mm. Yeah, you said your kids motivate you, and I could say that if the doctor said to me, "Hey, some overweight derogative term, get back in shape," that would have, I would have laughed and walked away, and but now your kid is involved, right?
Right,
Now there's this offspring.
right,
Now
right.
there's somebody that I have some responsibility that
That's
I brought
right.
this beautiful person into this world,
That's right.
and I have to be there.
That's
I need,
right.
it's everything.
That's right. That's right. And I'll just be, just share with you. So my daughter vapes. She vapes, and it's a big thing for kids right now is vaping.
It sure
Okay.
is. Yeah.
And I told her, I said, look, I want you to be around for me to dance with you at your wedding.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, the kids will eventually learn what have you. But yeah, again, it goes both ways. But yeah, kids really kind of like change your life. I know you know that. So you want to be around for them, and you want to make sure that you're, being responsible when it comes down to it.
Mm. How do you measure success, Jerry?
I guess I guess in business it's pretty easy. It's like if you're, I don't know how to say it. I don't even look at it from a metric standpoint. I just think that ASCII we've been around for so long, and listen, we may not be around next year. We have to always consider that this is not like on autopilot.
Permanent. Yeah.
But I consider success for us is that when members are using our community for things that we're not even aware of,
Mm.
where they're taking it and using it in a way that we may have thought of, but they're running with it. And I've seen that happen many times within the group. So I think that there's this thing ASCII, this community that's way more than just people sharing information back and forth. People are really joined at the hip. There's some great partnerships that we've cultivated within the community, and I think that there's this realness there. So I know that it's not a metric related item, but I think that when a company works tightly, you start seeing these things come out of it. I think that's a means to look at it from a success standpoint. So,
and how about you personally?
Personally, I just look, for me, I just look at it like, okay, are we doing all the things necessary to remain relevant? And I think everybody gets kind of stuck trying to re-message the same thing somebody else is trying to re-message and what have you. So as long as we are creative and trying to come up with some unique things, I think that I consider that being successful. So we got they're still early, but I think it's going to be great. And so if it does happen, so without saying who's involved, we are working with another association of 70,000 end users. They're all businesses, and they're struggling with cybersecurity. And so what we're going to do is we're going to educate them on cybersecurity and connect them with our members. So we're going to try to drive leads back and forth between the association on the premise of cybersecurity. So so doing things a little bit creative, doing things different. I don't hear many associations trying to drive actual end user business in that sort of fashion. So it's good. Just trying to be creative and making sure that we're staying relevant.
Jerry, thank you so much for your time today, my friend. I hope we get to spend a little more time this year together. We just kind of see things in passing. We did play golf a while ago. Maybe we can do that again.
Yeah, but I will not bet against you, Joe. I will tell you that. Well, listen, it was wonderful talking to you. I love your podcast. I love what you're doing here. So just really kudos to you and to all the listeners. Joe's doing a great job. He's a great guy, and I really appreciate it.
Jerry, thank you so much. We'll be seeing each other very soon.
All right, buddy. Sounds good.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations.